Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and Jorge André.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Jorge André. How are you?
Hello, Manuela. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here with you. it's
Nice
always,
to see you again.
it's always a happy feeling to see you and
Yeah,
to talk to you. I'm going to tell you how I spend my day. Yesterday I had a webinar, so I had to prepare during the day. So today I already had decided to take the day off. So
hmm
I went with
So
my
I ruined your day off by
no, no, no,
by
no.
getting
That's
back
what
to
I
you
was going.
talking
No,
already.
no, that's what I was going to tell you. So I spent the day. My boyfriend and our dog. We went up to the mountain to because it's been really
hmm
snowing here. So we took the car and we went up to the mountain, and we had a long, long walk with our dog. It was really, really nice to breathe the fresh air. And tomorrow Michel is going to start skiing lessons, so he doesn't ski for 20
Nice,
years. Yeah, he doesn't ski for 20 years, so
nice.
he decided to restart skiing lessons, so he's very happy for tomorrow. So we went to see the place where he was going to have the lesson. And so it was a really nice day. And when you see you I was actually sunbathing in the sun when you replied to my email and you said we can record today. And I said, yes. I said to Michelle, I'm going to have a recording today. And he said, yeah, okay. So, so no, I'm going to tell you why, because we are in an open space. So I always have to check if it's okay with the other person that I take the time
hmm
to do this. So he said yes,
hmm
and I replied to you and I said, okay, it's a nice way of ending my day. So
Nice. Sorry about that, Michelle, but
no, no,
I'll
no.
compensate. I'll compensate you one of these days.
And you, how was your day? Tell me. What have you
Well,
done?
my day was so I came back from vacation. I arrived not this last Saturday, the Saturday before, so about 1 week and a few days before. So I started to work. I arrived on Saturday. I took of course, Sunday off, and I started to work on my practice on Monday. I worked on Monday in my practice. Then I worked on Tuesday another practice, and I gave a course the end of the week. And now I um, I took the last actually yesterday I took the day off. I usually take Mondays off. Today I was working in Porto in a practice where I work in Porto as well. And I'm also gonna give some classes over the next 3 days. And that's it. I'm just slowly entering the
The work
the
rhythm.
working the work rhythm, and that's it. But it's normal. I mean, even today I just got a call from one of the administrative assistants saying there was a little bit of an emotional issue between my assistants, between some of them. I mean, it's the usual thing. You just have to assure that, okay, so what's going on? It's this, and this. Okay, so how can we implement a system first of all to reduce that emotional drama, and if there is an issue, then we will address the drama itself personally. But I always think that it's, for example, in these sorts of situations when you feel like there is a bit of a drama, a bit of emotional excessive energy within the team, or a little bit animosity, let's say, you first have to understand what's bad in the system that is allowing that to happen. Okay, so let's fix it first and foremost. And then if we need to talk with a particular person or with some particular people, we'll do that. That was actually about half an hour ago that I had this conversation. So it's business as usual, isn't it?
Can I,
No, but I think that sorry to interrupt. I would not have dealt this as good like 5 years ago.
I was going to ask exactly that, because today we're going to talk about finances, and we're going to talk
Yeah.
about a book that you wrote back in 2017.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and that was exactly my question. Do you realize now that management is much more about emotions? Now, I
It's
mean, do you
interesting.
understand my question? Back in
Yes.
2017, was the management about emotions as it is today? How it evolved?
but but you know the subtitle of the book.
Tell
The
me.
subtitle, it's so the book is called Small Business
Yeah.
Focus, and the
Uh-huh.
subtitle is It's All Emotion and
Uh-huh.
Math, but math is critical. So it's all it's exactly that. The thing is, what I realize in myself is that I get less triggered, and I can be more understanding, because I think that if you have someone within a team that overreacts, that does not answer you in the correct way or in a respectful way, or sometimes it's not exactly the words, but the way that they came out of your mouth, or you just slam the door with a little louder, with a little more energy. Those small things that add up at the end of the day. I mean, we all know how these things are in small businesses. Um, but if that happens, I think most of the time is that that person is going through a hard time, and it's for example, one of the issues that we do, for example, I have done that for the last 2 years, is that I always have a workshop that people come in my practice. They workshop on client communication, both in presence and both by telephone. And I also do always a course on emotional intelligence for the whole staff of the team. We always do that. But one thing is the emotional intelligence that they get from the, the people that give the course,
the coach.
and the coach. The other thing is that what happens every day is we haven't been having those courses for the last 2 years. But now the point is that I understand that I think there's always something behind that. And one of the things that I think that it's important to understand is that, okay, is there any faults? Is there any problems within the system that allows that to happen? Let me give you an example. One of the situations is, this is a very typical example. One of the older assistants. So let's say we have a schedule, and the lunchtime happens for 2 or 3 assistants at noon or whatever, at noon, right? Uh, but if there is any issue, any personal issue with them and some other dental assistants, that dental assistant may eventually sabotage things in a way that does not allow the other colleagues to get out on time. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And that may be legitimate because there's something going wrong with the patient, it's taking more, or it may be just a personal problem because she talked to me in that other way, so I'm going to revenge myself. You know how things are, and people, when they don't control their emotions, these things can happen. So how do you fix that? Well, in the most basic way, you may look at the situation and you may say, well, this is how an environment of a lot of women works. That's a little bit machista, let's say, but it's a normal, even between women, they say that a lot, but it's not about women or men. It's just basically when a lot of people gather in one place, in dentistry, and we talk a lot about it, drama can really happen in a very frequent way. So when these things happen, I think it's you have to understand there's something that is not right with the person, right? And you have to deal with the situation with intelligence. So what do I say about intelligence? So I think the less evolved version of myself would probably go directly to have a conversation with that person. Now, what I do is, okay, so why is this happening? Well, this is happening because I have probably allowed, because I have a lot of, over the last 2 years, there were some changes in the team, and we are still settling things down, and we don't have a very strict schedule of which assistant does what with each doctor. So it happens that sometimes some doctors are working with more of their preferred or more experienced assistants. And that can cause a little bit of disruption in some schedule. But for example, myself, I always work with the less experienced assistants. I always work with them because I want them to learn from me. So I realized, so the issue is because we don't have a very strict or a very clever way of managing the schedule of each assistant within each treatment role. So first of all, we're going to fix that. We are going to place a system that will never allow that to happen again, or it will reduce dramatically. And let's see how people react to that. If I believe there will still be some emotional reactivity, then I will get in and I will talk to the person. But even so, I would try to be as neutral as possible. I will probably gather some opinions of some of the people and say, look, I've gathered some opinions, and this is a pattern that people have been telling me about your behavior. Can you tell me your side of the story? I just want to realize what's going on. But the thing is, in that first approach, just to listen. Mm-hmm. Okay, just to listen. Mm-hmm. So there's the system, and there's, I would say, a more listening approach to what is going on. And I think that approach in itself is going to calm down things, of course. But also, if we go to extremes, of course, that they all of them know there are not irreplaceable assistants. And one of the biggest mistakes in a small business is if one task is can only be done by one person. That cannot mm-hmm. happen, because you are highly susceptible. Mm-hmm. Of course, you can have like bad luck, and within 6 months you don't find a new assistant, but you must strive so that does not happen. So I think that you must be calm enough to be able to, first of all, let's see what is in the system that is failing and sort it. Number two, if you have to take a conversation, just listen to that version. And also, and if it has to go to extremes, then yes, then sometimes you may have to take some radical decisions, and people must feel, it's not threatening, but they must feel that there is no one that is above the team. Mm-hmm. And also, another thing is, if you have an assistant that is more or less the boss of the other assistants, you also must make her feel, you also must coach her in the way to handle that. Mm-hmm. And in the way that you also need to give them some emotional tools. So look, just don't let yourself be affected by this. This is usually insecurity, and we all have that. We are going to fix this step by step. If the energy is a little bit dense between the team, we will fix that. First of all, let's look at the system, and then we will also have a course on emotional intelligence over the next month. And also something very important: the coaches that coach my team, before they start the coaching, they will know exactly the emotional profile of each person and the problems that we are facing. I mean, they don't come here out of nothing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They will have a report from my side. This is the person. This mm-hmm. is the person on the reception. This is the person that we have. This is the good things and the less good things about this person. This is usually the situations that we have. So they will have like more or less. I mean, it's never accurate, but they will know exactly what to try to fix when they go to give this course, either on client communication, on patient communication, but also on the emotional intelligence. So they will know not exactly, but they will go to the course knowing exactly the emotional profile of each person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think I think we will handle it.
Mm-hmm. So
I think
if
we'll
I
handle it.
understood well, what you the what you feel is that you over the years got more and more less reactive. So
In a
you
way,
learn
also
to
colder. It's not colder. You're not
uh,
emotionally colder. You are just
no,
more aware of the
no, yeah, I
situations. You
think
are
it's
just
yeah,
more, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You
There's
you
a
you 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 just you learn to dance with
mhm,
emotions. I think
mhm, mhm,
that's the
mhm,
situation,
mhm, mhm. Okay,
and
so
try to
let's yeah, yeah, tell
yeah,
try to
and try to be try to make everybody understand that everything is going to be all right. Whatever happens, everything is going to be all right.
mhm. So let's go to 2017 when you wrote this book, Small Business Focus. And by the way, if you want to, I think you're going to um, make available a copy of the book. So
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
have a link for you guys
yeah,
to leave your email, and if you want to receive a copy of the book,
yeah.
just leave your email and we'll send it to you. So what was your goal when you wrote this? And like you said, so the math is critical. So
Yeah.
and it
It's
was
all emotion and math, but math is
uh-huh,
critical.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's all
So
emotion and math, but math is critical.
and what was your goal back in
I
2017 when you wrote this?
um, I think I started to write that in about 2016 something, and I think that it was I needed to. I don't know exactly, but it started when I opened my practice. And the story that I usually tell in the course, which is I started my practice. My I All the money that I've earned at that time, I worked for 3 years in other practice. All the money that I earned, I invested in the practice. Then I did a master degree in London, and I think it was in the second year I couldn't afford to pay for the master, and I had to ask for money to my parents, and that was a pivotal moment financially for me because I realized, I mean, I have all these opportunities. This was not supposed to happen, and of course, that studying in London was also expensive, but it was difficult because I had my practice open, and the reason why I opened my practice was just to document cases. I was not that much financially driven, and I learned it in the hard way. So I had to ask money to my parents to pay for
Mm-hmm,
one of the year tuition, which
mm-hmm,
was about 10,000 £9,000, and I had to borrow a part of that. So I said to myself, I have to figure this out because at the time I was like I usually tell, I was already into management. I was already implementing systems in my practice. That was in 2007 or 2008. And as I went on, and I started to learn more about finance and how you can control your finances. One of the things that I realized is that throughout the years is that you can only do the maths on a yearly basis or the maths on a monthly basis. You have to know exactly what is going on a daily basis. How much money did you make today, and how much money did you lose today? Because, for example, you may have eventually today made 3,000 euros in one day. But if your expenses were 2,900, actually you only made 100, right? So you have to, there's a big difference between um, intake and profits, isn't it? One thing is the money that comes in, and the other thing is how much of that is actually profit. Because in dentistry, there's a lot of places where the money can go. It can go to the materials, it can go to the percentage of the doctors, it can go to the lab, it can go to many different places, isn't it? So usually what people do is that they sit down with their accountant in January to try to do the balance of the year before. I think that's a huge mistake. because you missed 364 days in your life. You can also not do it on a monthly basis, and we are going to show you the charts. Actually, I'll just share my screen. Okay, share screen. Okay, I think it's here. Okay, so can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
So let's imagine this graph here, and I know that some people are not seeing this on YouTube, they're seeing this on Spotify. So we have a chart here. On the X, we have the months: January, February, March, 12 months. On the Y, we have the awareness level. So if you want to have a good awareness level, that awareness should not be too low, because otherwise, basically, you are not giving a crap about what's going on, right? And it should also be too high, because it means you are in panic. Okay? So it should not be too low, it should not be too high. Ideally, you should have an optimal awareness of what's going on. And I call this the performance awareness, the financial performance awareness. What does it mean? It means you know what is the profit. Now, if you do this performance awareness, and if you decide that you do this yearly, so you sit down with your accountant and you do this performance yearly, it means that in January, when you are aware of the situation, you basically come from a level of awareness that you are not giving a crap, and now you start to panic because you realize that you actually did not make the amount of money that you thought you did, or you actually lose some money or whatever. Okay, so that is not a good strategy. Why? Because it means that you'll only be aware of what is going on in a panic mode only for maybe a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Because then all the rest of the year you'll not be aware of what is going on. So this is, if you do the maths, let's say once in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go to another graph. This graph here is if you do this performance awareness not yearly but monthly. So every month you sit down with the accountant and you look at how much money got in, how much money got out, the numbers. Okay, so it still means that 90% of the month you will not be in a good awareness level. You'll only, like 1 or 2 days in a month, you'll be aware of what is going on. So basically you panic for 2 days and then you relax for 20 days. While in the year you panic for a week and then you relax for the rest of the year. Now, if we do this, and this is the third graph, if you do this on a daily level, so let's imagine that we can know exactly day by day how much money you are actually, in a very accurate way, doing. What does it mean? Let me give you an example. It means that if you know day by day the money that you are doing, it means that if today you did not do very good, the next day you will not be very benevolent on the treatment plan quotes, for example, or you will not be extra benevolent with money, or you'll probably not go out and have a party and spend a lot of money in a dinner. So basically, it is the amount, the frequency of feedback that can maintain you in an optimal awareness. So the higher the frequency of feedback, the more ready you are to take action. This is just like in a relationship. I mean, if you have good communication, if when problems arise, you get feedback, then you can eventually set the course or reset the course. And you can do this in a much more optimized way, which is completely different that if you only get the feedback like once a month or once a year. So that's the basic idea of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
I want to ask you several things about this, but I think it's very important what you said, because on dental clinics there are so many expenses, and
Yes. Yeah.
so it's really easy to lose track of everything that is
Yeah.
happening money wise.
Yeah.
How first, how did you reach these conclusions? It was by error, by making mistakes, or how did you uh, reach the conclusion that you had to have this daily awareness of what's going on in
I'm
order for you to optimize the financial part? Because this is to optimize the financial part, right?
Absolutely. This is for you
Mm-hmm.
to be able to receive a
Mm-hmm.
higher frequency of feedback in order to set the
Mm-hmm.
course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that having original ideas and being creative is something not that frequent. And I don't, I do consider myself a creative person. I don't, and I talked to some economists about this, and they said, well, there are some economists that talk about this, and some companies work this way. I think this is logic, isn't it? I mean, if you, the thing is that we try to, how Elon Musk gives a name to this, wishful thinking. We wishful think a lot of things, right? And if you sit down to do the numbers once in a year, you will be wishful thinking 364 days,
So basically, what you
right?
are saying is if you don't have in a dental clinic, if you don't have this awareness of numbers in a daily basis,
Yes.
what you have is just wishful thinking about
Yeah.
money. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's
Hopefully,
very interesting.
hopefully that, hopefully that things will be all right. I mean, people are paying, money's coming in. I look at the bank and well,
Mm-hmm.
it seems that we'll do okay. But then at day 20 or day 30, half of it or two-thirds of it go away in expenses to the lab or to the employees or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of wishful thinking because of many things that we have told so far. Because we are doctors, we don't deal that much well with private medicine. We sometimes we go to dentistry to behave to do good to people without expecting nothing in return, which is like the core of what a doctor is. Isn't it? I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving my service because this is my vocation. The problem is that dentistry, most of the treatments they do carry a lot of fixed and variable costs. And they are
Mm-hmm.
actually very high, much higher than we usually think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in my opinion, you should have that feedback on a daily basis. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you cannot do that on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
extreme, if you want to really go push it, if you do that on a daily basis, and we'll talk about it, it's not that
Mm-hmm.
difficult.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that on a daily basis, you'll see that
Mm-hmm. Let me just
it's
add that I
the
also
feedback is
think.
will be much more helpful.
I also think there's a lot of money illiteracy. So we are not ready to
Yes.
deal with money and
Yes.
management also. So
Yeah.
it's like you said,
Yeah.
you have an accountant and you go with
Mm-hmm.
meetings with an accountant and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. And you don't realize that you need much more and that you need to learn and that
Yeah.
or that you need to have someone to do these things for you. But what I wanted to ask you now is, okay, so you have this information, so what do you
Yes.
do with this information? So what is this information good for? What is it, the use of this information?
Okay. So we will talk further on how I get this
Yes,
information. So exactly
yeah,
what
that's
that's one
important too,
thing.
because
Now, but
people
yeah,
only think about the income, but how do you track
not
the
yes.
expenses? That's very
Exactly,
important.
exactly. So, but before that, okay. So, if I, let's say, for example, I know that in my practice today, the profit was 400 euros. That's one thing. Or let's see that in my practice today, the profit was actually minus 100 euros. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. Minus 50 euros. If the doctor was on vacation or something like that, there was a free treatment room and that has fixed costs. So what do I do with that information? So if I realize that on a consistent basis, that profit, that money is not covering the costs, because usually what we have is this: we have a chart for every month, and that chart starts negative 10,000 or 50,000, something like that. It depends on the practice, it depends on the number of dental chairs. So before you start work, in terms of fixed costs, you are in minus 10,000. And you go day by day, and you see at the end of the month, ideally, you should be above the 10,000 or the 15,000, right? And what we incorporate on the variable and fixed cost, we'll talk about that. But the thing is, you will know if the feedback is daily, you will automatically take action. Automatically. You will not be forced, because if the feedback is once a year, you are in the wishful thinking mode, what am I going to do? And when you panic, you don't make good decisions. So if you have that on a daily basis, you will know exactly, look, I may need to increase prices. I may need to reduce expenses. There's something not right with this procedure. We are losing money with this procedure. There's something not right with this
So
stock.
it's much more assertive. The action is much more assertive
it's
and
subjective.
to the point.
It's subjective.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's subjective, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what you do, and you do it automatically. And it's funny because on the book I give 3 examples from the most simple to the most complex. So I start with a shoe shop, okay? And this shoe shop, it's a shop that sells shoes. You have the owner, and you have one employee, and you have the shoes, and you have the clients and the expense. Very, very basic stuff, okay? So if you know on a daily basis exactly how much the shoes you sold and how much was the variable cost, what is the variable cost? The cost of the shoe that you sold. What is the fixed cost? The rent, the
electricity.
The electricity. And if you get them together at the end and you divide, you know that at the end of the month, it's 30 days, you spend 300 euros in electricity. You know that each day you spend 10. So at the end of the day, you are losing 10 plus the expenses of the employee, plus the rent, plus that's all fixed cost, plus the variable cost of the shoes that you sold. And that is a number, right? That is a number. Mm-hmm. It may be positive, you may have had profit, or it may be negative. You did not have any profit. So let's imagine that you are the owner of the shoe shop. If you, on Monday, it entered 500 euros, but the expenses were 490. So on Monday, you made 10 euros. On Tuesday, you made 20 euros. On Wednesday, you did not sell anything. You lost 50 euros. And if you look at that on a daily basis, if you have a party on the weekend, and if you know that things are not going to go okay, you'll spend less money on that party. Do you understand? It's as simple as that. Or if you are going to make an investment in the shop, if you're going to paint the shop, and if you are going to buy some new things for the shop, when you're going to buy the things, you're not going to go to a design shop. Maybe you're going to go to IKEA. Why? Because the month is not being very good. Okay, so that's the basic thing. That's one of the examples. The other example that I gave is also a freelancer designer, like a photographer. All right. So the photographer, so in freelancing, it's a little bit different because, okay, so this is a guy, he's a photographer, he lives alone, he's a young guy, and he wants to make it in photography. So what is his fixed cost? Is because he works at home, it's rent at home. It's rent at home. And also the amount of money that he's paying for the camera, right? And if he goes and does a wedding, the transportation, it's a variable cost. So the fixed cost is the cost that he has at home, and the variable cost is what he needs to spend to do the service. And it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. And if he for example, let's say every day for him to make a living, he needs to spend 30 euros, right? But he's not going to have services every day. Maybe the service only enters like once a month. Okay, so most of the days you will be having not profit. He's not going to make money. But when it enters, right, in that day he made a lot of money, right? But he needs to be aware daily exactly what is going on, because if he knows that he has those fixed expenses the next time that he's going to quote someone for the wedding photography or for a professional wedding session or for a professional session of corporate or something, he knows that he's not going to make himself cheap, right? Because if he sells himself to cheap, what happens is that he's not going to make it through the... So, but he needs to have that awareness on a daily basis in order to make good decisions. And also, one thing very important, how much money do I want to make daily? How much money do I want to make yearly? And if I want to make yearly, I need to make this money every month. And then you just adjust from there. And then the third example is a dentist, actually. Exactly what
and by those two examples, you also said that financial awareness, it's for dentists, it's as important for clinic owners and as for associated dentists. Even if you don't have your own practice and if you are a freelancer, you should be very aware of your of your finances also. And that was another of my questions. So who has access to that information?
We all have access to that information on a daily basis. So the thing is this. Okay, so basically, how do we get that information? I think this is important. The information, the expenses, they are fixed and variable. Okay, let's give an example. Fixed costs. Let's imagine that I had about 80,000 euros of fixed costs every year. Okay, so every year I need to spend that money just to open the doors. Electricity, rent, if it happens, employees, water, everything that needs to be paid just to get the doors open. Let's say that's 80,000. Okay, so let's divide that number by the number of days that the practice is open, actually, which is not 365, because you have to reduce about, usually a year has about 52 weeks, so you have to reduce at least, if you don't work, for example, if you don't work on Sundays, you have to reduce all the Sundays. So if you divide that number by the number of days that the practice is open, you will get a number. Okay, and my number is about my number is about, I think it's about 400, 500 euros a day, just to get things open. I think it's that number, just to get things open, just to get my door open. 400 euros a day, something like that. Okay, so if it's 400 euros a day, I know that if the practice does not make above 400, I'll be losing money, right? So that's the fixed costs. And then there's the variable costs. What is the variable cost? The variable costs are the costs for each procedure. So in a composite, for example, we have, for every sort of procedure, we have numbered and we have listed the amount of material that we need. The bonding, the material like the covers for the patients, the cups, everything that is non-reusable.
Everything that
for example, use. For a composite restoration, the cost depends on the materials that you use. It's usually between 10 and 15 euros for a composite restoration. That's usually about that. For an endodontic treatment, for a root canal obturation, it's usually about 25 to 30 euros. So we have all that. We spent in the past a lot of time just feeling that, and we usually try to update that every year. So we know exactly for each procedure the cost. And every doctor at the beginning of the day has what we call their daily sheet. Okay, so their daily sheet has the list of the patient, what each patient, and what he did in that patient, how much the patient paid, and what is the fixed cost. And at the end of the day, he knows what was the variable cost, because let's the 400 euros, they are divided by the 4 treatment rooms. So each treatment room as a very fixed cost of 100 euros. So at the end of the day, he adds up the total amount of money that the patient paid for his services in that treatment room. He adds up the variable costs, because on the back of the sheet, he says composite restoration, this is the cost. Endodontic, this is the cost. And he adds up, and that gives the amount of money that came in from the patient, the amount of money that we lose for the variable costs, the amount of money that we lose for the fixed costs, and the amount of money that the percentage that he's going to receive. And he or she, they have to fill at the end of that sheet the total profit for the practice. So they know exactly how much their work actually contributed to the practice or not. That has a double utility. Number one, I know exactly on each day how much was the profit for each treatment room. And number two, they know exactly, because sometimes they think that they made a lot of money, but actually for the practice it was not that much. Okay? And they also are aware of what is going on. And I think that is something that is very useful, because usually we are not aware of that. Not only the owners, but also the associates. So they know exactly what is going on. And also, I make sure that they trust the numbers, because I usually show them the number. You may not show them. You may not show them the fixed costs at the end of the year if you don't want to. But the variable costs you have to show them, because they have to understand exactly how much they are spending in terms of materials. And I think that is something that is a good shift in the way that they see the practice, because there's a lot of variable costs. And for example, we want to make sure that they know that the calculations that for the composite, they are to the cent. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we show them how we do them, because I want that they trust that what we are doing is transparent mm-hmm. for them. The doctor itself, they do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just going to ask you if you already had the experience with someone, with a colleague that went to work for you and mm-hmm. was and had the first contact with that system that you had, because mm-hmm. it's not something that you yeah. usually see in practices. So, and what is the experience? So when they don't never worked with that system, what is the experience? If it's positive, if they are aware of the expenses, because I don't think that this is something. Because
no, they usually are not aware of that. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that if they look at is this so much as a composite cost, and mm-hmm. we just show them the Excel sheet. Mm-hmm. This is this, and even the bonding, even the amount of bonding, we calculated that based on studies, because studies say that for you to do a bonding procedure, usually use these milliliters mm-hmm. of liquid. We divide it, and for example, bonding is usually you spend between 50 cents to €1 per mm-hmm, bonding mm-hmm. application. Mm-hmm. And because we show them that this is reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just.
But
asking
you are asking.
No, I'm asking because I sometimes I think, and even myself, which I never owned the practice, but sometimes you have colleagues that you need like but he's complaining, he's getting 40% of I'm only receiving 40%, he gets the rest, and I think that's the reason is because they don't have that awareness, they don't have those numbers. So I was asking because I think that must be really eye-opening, and must be really I think it will take away a lot of
drama,
stress and drama. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a typical. This is a very typical, very effective system to lower the drama of that owner-employee victimization. Mm-hmm. 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 That's it. Mm-hmm. It's very easy. It's basically go to the depth of the question. Look, these are the numbers here. There is no subjectivity here. This mm-hmm. is what is happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and tell me one thing. What about when does it happen? I mean, I'm sure it doesn't happen often, but does it happen sometimes that the dentist does not give? I mean, it has a negative result.
Of course, it happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. It happens a lot.
It
Okay.
happens. It happens.
Okay.
I do have. I do. For example, I might have a guy that works. He made €1,000
Mm-hmm.
in that dental treatment room, but the expenses with the lab and everything made so that that day we lost €10. And remember one thing: we only add the expenses of the lab when the work is placed in the mouth. Okay, so sometimes, for example, you may be spending you may be spending, like, for example, a trying of a ceramic. You are spending the variable costs in terms of hourly costs. You are spending them, but the money has not come in because you are only going to add the lab prices when you place the work in the mouth. So sometimes there may be between 1 week and the other week, or between 1 month and the other month, there may be some mismatch because there's a big amount of money that enters on the on February that actually it was regarding a month on January. Does it make
Mm-hmm.
sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
that may
Yes.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
But even if we forget labs, even if
Mm-hmm.
we forget lab work,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, yes, we do have. So the guy made 500, and in expense we had like 450. So we only make like 10. We had only make like €50, or we only sometimes made €10. If, for example, if a patient cancels, like a big patient, for 3 hours, we do have a lot. We do have that negativity. Of course, we have. And also another thing is that, for example, what do you do if the doctor is on vacation? Do you count on that day? I count on that day. I count that day. So if the doctor is on vacation that day, we lost €400 in that because I want, even my vacation. In my vacation, I am losing €100 per treatment room every day. I am losing that. I know that I am losing because the maths are being done. It's not about the doctor, it's about the room. If the room is not filled, it's getting out of our pockets. So we have, at the end of the day, we just sum up the profit of each room and we have a number there. But I want to be aware of that, especially if they are on vacation. Especially if they are on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Does it seem like a little bit of, how would you say, neurotic, or
No, no, no.
how do you call it?
I think that is it. It's what you said. It's money awareness, and I think it's precious information, and
Yeah,
you can take
yeah,
action immediately. And I think
yeah,
also the fact that everyone has access to that information and that the doctor receives that information in the end of the day, that's also
yeah.
something that it's very.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a wonderful thing to implement. Really, it
Mm-hmm.
takes time. It takes a couple of months to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, if people come to our course, they will have all the sheets and all the
Mm-hmm.
calculations
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
English
Yeah,
and in Portuguese. We have all that.
you give all
But
that you give all that.
yeah,
Um,
you can have, like, in 2 months, you can implement that in your
mhm.
practice. You can
There was,
implement that in your practice.
I told you that we should do an episode on finances because we already, the other one that we record about why dentists have an issue talking about money was one of the episodes that was
Yeah.
most heard. And I had one question about that said, what should the price you set for the treatment reflect? So actually, if
Mhm.
you have all these numbers that you said, it's very
Mhm.
easy to. It's much. I mean, it's
Mhm.
very easy, no, but it's easier
Yeah.
to price the treatments, right?
Yeah. So let me give you an example here. For example, so we usually, the hour fixed costs for each treatment room, for each share in my practice, each treatment room has an hourly fixed costs between 10 and €50. Let's make it €12. Okay, let's make it €12 just for because I don't just to make
Mm-hmm.
this an example that everybody
Mm-hmm.
can understand. So let's imagine that your dental practice, after the calculations of the fixed cost, it says 12 euros. That's a very low cost. It means that you own the practice, that you are not paying rent. Because if you are paying rent or if you are borrowing money from the bank, that cost will be much higher. Let's make it let's make it let's make it more normal. 20 euros per hour. 20 euros per hour. Okay, so you get someone in to do endodontic treatments. Okay, so let's say this guy does an endodontic treatment in 1 hour. Okay, or does one session in 1 hour. So let's imagine that you set the price based on the market, on the average of the market. For example, a few years ago, one session of an endodontic treatment, usually we get them together, but one session, let's say, one obturation would be like 60 to 65 euros, which is very low here in Portugal. Let's say 60 euros. Okay, so you have someone, and then the endodontist he comes in, and you charge the patient 60 euros. 60 euros. Okay, so from those 60 euros, 20 they you lose 20 for fixed costs, and for the obturation you are losing 25. Okay, so it's 45 euros that you are losing in terms of variable costs for the material. So it's 45 euros. Okay, 45 euros that you are losing already. Now you have to pay the doctor, right? Let's say you pay him 50%, right? What happens is that if you pay him 50%, you're going to pay him more. How much? 30 euros. So you lose 45 euros in variable plus fixed costs, plus 30%, plus 30 euros on what you are paying for the doctor. So you are losing 75 euros and you got 60 euros. This is a 15 euro loss. 15 euro loss. So basically, you are paying to have an endodontist be in your practice. That's it. It can be reasonable. It can be reasonable because you may be doing a lot of money with implants, and that may be a good strategy, isn't it? That might happen. But you are losing money. So this means that you will have to do the prices not based on what your neighbor is doing, on what the dental office down the road is doing, but on actually what it makes sense to you, and not what you think is the average price because someone said that. That's
Mm-hmm.
just a typical example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you said it may be reasonable because you are making money with implants, but you should it should only be reasonable if that's your choice because you
Mhm.
made that choice. So you have
Of
the numbers
course,
and
of
you
course,
you made that
but you
choice
are aware of that.
that you are aware of that.
But at the end of the day, what happens is that treatment room number one of the endodontist have a loss of 100 euros, but treatment room number two with the implantology made 2,000 euros in profit. Okay, so this is where you have to play the game here, right? But ideally, you should not be losing money in any dental treatment. You should not be doing that because otherwise, it's better to not have anyone there. So,
Yeah, tell me.
so it can be an option. Okay, so I have a treatment room here, and I would be losing 20 euros if it was empty for this hour. Now I'm only losing 15 euros. Okay, yes. So why open that treatment room in the first place? Oh yes, because I'm doing implants and I need someone to do the restorative part, or just to make sure that the patient comes in. I want to be able to offer other services. Well, that can be a good strategy. But if you are aware of that strategy, if that's something that makes sense to you, but you must be aware of that. You must understand exactly what is going on.
Mm-hmm,
That's the
mm-hmm,
thing.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Would you advise clinic owners to hire external companies to do like the study of the financials and to reach those conclusions
I think that
of the real
I
costs of a clinic, etc., because you were able to
yeah.
do it alone, but like I was saying to you, I feel that there's a lot of dentists that don't have the money literacy, and just the
Yeah,
meetings with the accountant, it's not, like you said, it's not enough. So I
not
know
enough. It's not
there
enough.
are
No,
companies that do this kind of
they can do
services.
that.
Do you think
Yeah,
that that's an option?
I'm an advocate of any sort of professional help, any sort of consult. Like I told you, I hired an outside company to do patient communication, coaching to medical nurses, emotional intelligence. I don't hire for the financial part, but I could easily hire that. I don't hire that
Because you
because I
wrote
think
the
that's
book
actually a
about
very
it.
objective goal. It's not only about writing the books, about actually
I
doing
know.
that.
I
It's
was
about
kidding.
actually doing that.
Yeah.
And
But it's
it's
something that you like. It's something
no, it's
that you
not
like.
because
No, but it's something that you like, that you study. You
I
said
don't
it
like,
yourself.
I hate
No,
it.
no, but you said it
I
yourself.
hate
You
it. I
had the
hate finances.
situation in your life,
I
and you
had
went
to.
and you study
Yeah,
it. So to
yeah,
implement something that you know it work, and it
yes,
give you the peace of mind
yes,
for you to have
yes, yes,
the time and
yes,
the mind, the peace of mind to do other
yeah,
things and
yeah,
not worry about that, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Because
but the thing is that my thing, I am a technician slash artist. I'm not an accountant, but I had to learn that. But
mhm
if
mhm
anything, I'm much closer to the artist or to the technician
mhm
part,
mhm
not that much to the marketeer, not that much to the manager, not that
mhm
much to the accountant. But I just had to find a way to get things in order.
but I think that you
Even
were
even
very smart, because you immediately realized, okay, I
thank
have to
you,
get my
thank
finances
you.
in order. No, but don't you think, because I think there's colleagues that they take
There's
a
pain
very
there.
long
There was
time,
pain.
that they
Yeah,
take a very long time to
there's
reach
pain
that
there.
conclusion, Andre, and you know that, and is
Yeah,
struggling about
I know.
money and money and money, and they
Yeah.
complain about we already talked about this, they complain about money to the
The
assistants.
problem
And
is that,
so you reach that
yes,
conclusion, okay, I have to get my finances in order, I have to make
I
the
don't like,
system
basically,
work so that
I don't
I
like,
can get focus on what I like and being creative and the artistic
yeah,
part. So
yeah.
that's
I
I
don't like
think.
to, and I don't like to borrow money from other people. That's something that I don't like, either a bank or someone else. I don't feel, my growth ever since has been basically on the money that we made. Even now, I'm going to go for the third stage of construction, of expansion in my practice. It's not expansion, just basically to get things more comfortable in the practice. And I only started because I had the money, that we had the money to do that. I'm not going to borrow money. I don't like that. It's not something that makes me feel comfortable. Uh,
Hmm. So
but also, I don't have kids. I don't like expensive cars. I do spend a lot of money on food, vacation, wellness for myself, working out, personal trainers. But I don't have kids. But I'm quite generous with my friends and with with my family. It's not that I'm giving money away, but I don't count money if I go to. I mean, of course I count, but if I have to pay for a dinner for someone, I pay. That's not an issue. Even, for example, I had this guy. Just this is a. I had this guy that I went to France to give him like a coaching session on a surgery. I went to Paris last year, and I spent in this place about 2 days. And of course, he paid me. A couple of days ago, he just texted me, "Look, I'm just expanding my practice. Emotionally, I'm feeling a bit scared. Do you have any books on mindset that you can advise to me?" And I asked him, "Give me your address." And I spent about 200 euros in books to give to the guy. I don't look at these things. I don't make it. For me, that's a pleasure. It makes me happier, and it's something that I like to do with pleasure. I don't count on these things. Giving for me is non-negotiable. I like to give stuff, but in order for me to give, of course, I need to get my finances in
hmm hmm
order.
hmm yeah, and
But
it
I'm just saying that
reduces
because
a
some
lot
people
of
say,
drama
"Well,
in the
is
clinic, in
is
the dental clinic.
is yeah." Because I think that sometimes people look at us and say, "Well, because Manuel doesn't have kids, because Andre doesn't have kids, he's always traveling, he's here and there, their life is super easy. That's why."
No,
I
it's
mean,
a lot
if
of
I
work.
had kids, I would have to. if I had kids, I would have to triple on this on these
Mm-hmm.
things, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah.
just probably have to be more organized, work out more, sleep better,
Mm-hmm.
be more organized regarding money. It just I would have to be this on steroids. That's it. So it's not that's not an excuse. Well, he doesn't have kids, so
Yes,
therefore he has.
and
It's not
I
it's
mean,
not that the question.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I cannot, of course, I cannot compare my life with ones that have kids. I organized it because I don't have them, but um,
Actually,
I
I don't know
really,
if that's even a comparison that can be done. That's just an option. I think that
yeah,
people use it as an excuse. That's the
yeah,
thing. I think that people use,
mm-hmm,
oh, because my wife does not want to. Oh, because my wife likes expensive shoes. Oh, because my kids are in university. Okay, so this is a choice that you
mm-hmm,
make,
yeah,
right? Maybe I spend more money on vacation every year than some of these people that talk to me like this spend on their kids every year. So it's the same thing. It's just a question of there's all something very important. The more you criticize other people, the more you are using precious time to work on yourself. And that's something that I realized over the last, I would say, decade. If you spend too much time finding excuses, I'm not saying necessarily criticizing the people, but finding, oh, he does that because this, oh, they do that because of that, oh, they do that because of that. So actually, that's just excuses, and
and
that's one of the
it's
most
lack of self
dangerous
awareness,
mindsets.
yeah, and it's lack of self awareness.
Also, also, also,
We talked
I've
about
made
money
excuses
awareness,
whenever,
but
yeah,
it's awareness is
whenever
very important.
I think that the less happy moments of my life, the most unhappy moments of my life, were the moments where I was either criticizing too much people or I was just finding excuses for not being able to. So basically, the more negative stuff you carry inside your mind, the worse it is for you. And negative stuff, I
True.
mean, finding excuses and comparing
Hmm.
yourself to others because of this and because of that.
Hmm. You know,
That's really something powerful.
one thing that I've been realizing, and since I spend more time in the last year, it's not a year still, but spending more time here with this kind of life that I told you. So more in the countryside, I and organizing my days in a different way. I feel like I don't have that much time to do that you were saying, to the negative or to the judgment.
Of course,
um
of
i i
course.
i realized
I
not
think
so long ago,
it's a
there's okay, I
path,
know, yeah, mm-hmm.
It's a path. I think it's difficult to get. I think there's a mix of a lot of things. One of the things is experience. The other thing is lots of failures, lots of things that didn't go right. That's essential. You have to pass through that. The other thing is age, of course. The other thing is you just have to. It's not something that all of a sudden you start caring about what other people think of you. I mean, we all care about what other people think of us. It's just a slow drop of pieces of this huge baggage that we have behind, slowly and slowly and slowly. For me, what helped me a lot was self education. It helped me a lot. Reading and reading. Sometimes you read a book now and then you read a book after 10 years and then you realize actually I was not prepared 10 years
Mm-hmm.
ago to read this.
True.
So I think you just have to self-educate yourself with that and listen to the I think that you should listen and be surrounded by the kind of people that you admire and the kind of energy that you want. And today with social media and YouTube and podcasts, which is exactly what we are doing right now, is to try to give a little bit of the way that we see the world to other people that eventually have the same point of view, right? So today you can be close to that sort of energy,
Mm-hmm.
which we didn't have like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I admire someone, I would probably even read his book. Now today on a daily basis, you can be facing that energy, and I think that. So the question is, okay, when did you start not giving too much attention to what other people think of you. It was not in one day or in 2 days.
No.
Maybe it's in 10
Mm-hmm.
days, in 10
Mm-hmm.
years, in
Mm-hmm.
20 years. And it's a mix of failure, experience. But for me, self-education or education or looking health for basically getting yourself in the group of people that are trying to deal with the problem that you are facing, I think it's essential. Finding a community, even if it is a small community, listening to a podcast, reading a book from certain authors. And I think this is a huge opportunity that we have today that we didn't have like 10 years ago.
And
I'm listening to a book by Rick Rubin that is something about creativity, something that really makes me happy. There was no way I could have done that like 20 years ago. Impossible.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really helped me also, it's to really try to figure out and discover the kind of person that I want to be. And I write a lot about that, and I do a lot of exercises about that. And then I see if my behavior match that person, and there was a lot of things that I stopped doing and I abandoned because of that, because okay, this does not contribute to the person that I want to be, like gossiping or and
exactly.
it's so easy for you to let go of those things if you if you write about the person that you really want to be, and then you match all your behaviors and your days, and you see that's a lot of things that you can easily change. For me, that helped me a lot, and I do that exercise a
And
lot.
for me, one of the biggest things, especially during the last year, for me was to be able to not be carried away by the emotion, but to sit with them. Because what happened for me, what happened a lot was, okay, so you have a negative emotion. This also happens when you are meditating. It's the same thing.
Open awareness.
A thought comes in.
Just be with it.
You cannot fight it. Because the fight itself will create more tension.
Yeah, of course.
Understand?
It will leave you tired.
I don't want to think about this. Yes,
it's not
and
about stopping thoughts. Yeah.
No, it's about sitting down with them and basically actually loving them. It's about smiling. It's about smiling to this, because when you smile to them, basically they will eventually become your smile. That's for me. That was
that's open awareness. That's so nice to hear you say that. That's so nice.
For me, that was one of the most, one of the things that, and it's funny because I've read about that. I meditate for many years.
But you meditate with focused attention, right? Is last year you start meditating with open awareness. You discovered open awareness, right? Yeah, I remember you telling me
different.
that you.
It's
it's
different
completely
because for
different.
many years,
Go deeper on yourself.
For many years, for many years, what I did is basically I sit down and there was this Tibetan letter A.
But that's important also. That's focused and concentration, and that really trains your mind. That's mental training. But open awareness, you let go of the focus, huh?
For me, open awareness is basically joy. The word that for me better describes it's smiling. It's like an inside smile towards your own mind. Just smile at it, and it's for me. And of course, it is. If you have a very stressful day, this is more difficult. If you are in Costa Rica, listening to an audiobook and having interesting chats with people on the beach, it's super easy. And if you are surfing every day, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Today in the mountains for me,
but you have to carry on that with yourself, and I think you have to carry on that smile of a little kid that you have inside yourself to be facing every problem with, I would say, with love, isn't it? One of the things that I didn't understand about the Stoics is amore fati, which is love. I think it is love whatever happens, or something like that. I don't know if it's love the things that go well and the things that don't go as well. So one of the things that cannot, so you have, let's say you are jealous of the success of someone else, and you feel bad because you are not getting that success, or you feel bad because you said something, you basically you were with someone that you wanted to cause a good impression and you didn't cause a good impression because whatever, you just said something awkward or whatever. I mean, if you get that, let's say, um, guilty emotion, the basic way of fighting it is with anger. So why did I do this? So I'm not going to feel this. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel guilty. I'm strong. So that's just the recipe for another thought to come in and to fight them, you know? So it just creates a lot of turbulence. While if you just sit down with that guilty and with that shame and just laugh at that and just smile at that and just accept things and just realize that's just a thought like everybody else has, I think when you realize you are thinking about something else much more positive and that feeling has gone
Mhm.
already,
The
that
the
thought
thing
has
is
gone. And
that
for me,
the
that's
emotions
the biggest
only
thing.
last longer because we prolong them on time.
Yes,
Because
we fight
we
them.
we fight
We
them, we
fight
fight them,
them.
and then that's why they
Yeah.
last so long. Because if we
Yes.
accept them,
Yes.
they immediately like poof, they,
Accept them.
they
Yes.
yeah. But
Yes.
we have to be
Yes.
able
Now,
to be with them, like you said. It's
yeah, of course, that accepting emotions when you didn't get where you are far, far from your goals in life, your your tangible goals, let's say, it's more difficult. So you can ask me, okay, so if you didn't have your professional success, if you didn't write the articles that you wrote, if you didn't have a financial life that would allow you to take vacation like you do every year, would you be as peaceful as you are now? That's a difficult question. Probably not. Probably not. But the thing is that I think that one of the things of reaching your goals or trying to reach your goals or getting close to that is that you realize actually it's not about the goal. Actually, it's not about the article that you wrote, because at the end of the day, in a couple of years, no one will remind you of that. I think it is the struggle of getting there and the inner work. I think this is really important, the inner work of emotional awareness. I think for me, that was my biggest breakthrough in my life, for sure. My goals, my goals, honestly, and I saw someone saying that, but honestly, the most important thing, and I think that when you really are into emotional open awareness and stuff, you realize that the most important thing is, in my point of view, is for you to have conditions to give more and to love better. For me, really, this is really the depth of the question. How can I be at the best version so that I can give more about myself and learn to love better people around me? For me, I think that really is the thing that makes me balanced. It's not about the cars or it's not about the articles. How can I be of best service to other people? How can I give more of myself? For me, that's it. But for me to give more of myself, of course, I need to have tools for that. And this is where money comes from. So I even whenever and I always had this situation, which is I always was a little bit reactive to elitistic view on money, like social status, or when you need to have a car, or you need to have expensive clothes and stuff like that. I was always a little bit reactive to that. So I don't want to be like that. So, but just the fight of not wanting to be like that, of that reactivity is in itself a judgment of other people, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. But we are
So
always
why
judging,
that?
especially if we
Yeah,
start being
exactly.
aware of judgments, then you realize that everything is a
Yes.
judgment. You have to also let go a little bit of
Yes.
that. Otherwise, I remember that at a certain moment it was like, okay, I'm always, always, always judging. We are always judging. It's
Yeah.
and because we are biased, we have so many
Yes.
cognitive
Yes.
distortions,
Yes.
so many.
Yes.
There's more than
Yes.
the I read an article not so long ago
Yes.
that it
It's
identified
amazing.
24 cognitive bias,
Yeah.
24
And
different
it's
cognitive
the
bias.
bias, we use them to place people on the good people basket or on the bad people basket.
Yeah, it
Good people, bad
completely
people, good
affects
people. We
our
are always
thinking.
dividing.
Yeah,
Yes.
always,
Yes.
always, always,
Yeah.
always.
You know, I told you about this book, Letting Go by David Hawkins. But the other book that I read and I finished reading here, listening, from Matthew Ricciard, a guide to the most important. I think it's a guide to happiness. It is a wonderful book from a scientific point of view. It is an amazing book, and it talks a lot about that we are always looking at the world and trying to classify it. Either they are our
Yeah, I
friends
think I
or either
even
they are
wrote
our
I wrote
enemies.
that because I think you made an Instagram post as I think seeing reality as it is
Yeah,
and not as we want it to be. So we are always judging and always
exactly. Yeah,
trying to make things as we want it
yeah.
to be. So it's really difficult, and
And
that's where the open awareness training comes in. So you train yourself to see
yes,
things as they are and not as you want them to be. You train yourself to see all the mind thinking, the
yeah.
wishful thinking, like you said, and you
And
get a little
I also
better at seeing things as they are. I mean, it's
exactly.
not like
But
gives
what you
you
said is important. You get a little
a
better.
little better,
You
yeah,
get a little
a
better and a
little
little
better.
better.
You
Yes,
don't get
exactly.
illumination, and sometimes I think
Yeah,
I
but
speak to certain
sometimes,
people that like they are
sometimes,
illuminati, but it's not.
yeah,
I mean, I feel okay.
sometimes,
I'm a little better, but
yeah, but sometimes that little better gives a huge amount, a huge boost on your life quality. If you realize that um, your happiness does not depend on someone else loving you, or your happiness does not depend on the money that you have in the bank. But again, you have to make sure that you have tools to be able to give as much as possible. Your happiness does not depend on your appearance, on your clothes. If you really assimilate that, and if you really look into that, I think that you enter a completely new way of looking at the world, which is okay. Actually, what really makes me feel genuinely better is giving and loving.
Mhm.
That's it. It's not being loved;
It takes a
it
lot of
is giving
layers that
and
you see
loving.
that are completely you don't have any use for them,
Yeah.
that get in your way. So you get a lot more simple, and you see things in a more
Yeah,
simpler way.
because,
Hmm.
and this is, if you look back in your life, and I'm sure you know, and everybody is listening, if they look back in their lives, okay, yes, I got the car, I got the house, I got the girl, but then the house becomes boring. Then the car, no, I want another one. Then the girl is exactly not, it's not exactly the other person, the partner has their own issues, isn't it? I mean, it's nothing about what you can conquer or you can achieve or to bring to your life. It's actually the opposite. It's in the opposite way. It's actually how much can you make, how much good moments and good energy can you bring around you. That's it. That's it. That's exactly that. But it takes time, of course. It takes time to feel confident to do that. It takes time to create financial, sometimes financial security to do that. Of course, now let's say easier way of doing this, which is not easy. Okay, the easier way is okay. I'm going to advocate completely of my financial comfort, of my comfort. I'm just going to go to India and live like a monk, right? Well, yes, it's easy in a certain way, but then if you place yourself in modern society in the city, then you have to deal with emotionally unstable person. Then you have to deal with non-duality, with duality. Then you have to live with judgment. So the question is, how can I, within this chaos, try to be a little bit more aware of what's going on, try to be a little bit more conscious, try to give more, try to love more, even though I know that there's a lot of judgment and comparison and insecurity and envy and pride and anger. How can I navigate through that? And so in my point of view, I think you can reach a balance here. I think you don't need to go to India to live like a monk. I think that you can diminish your suffering because we all suffer, of course, but we can lower that. We can lower that and we can have higher levels of contentment and happiness and smiling faces if we work much more on awareness. And it takes time. It takes books to read, it takes practices to do, it takes courses to attend. But I think it's possible. I really think it's possible. And for me, for example, the fact that this is interesting, just the fact that I've been talking to you on much more regular basis about emotions and stuff like that, it has helped me hugely.
It helps,
Yes, it's
right?
true that over the last yeah, of course, over the last 2 or 3 years, I can say that I reached most of my, if not all of my, the only professional goal that I still need to is to write a book. Otherwise, I'm doing a lot on vacation. I'm having a lot of vacations. I have a great place to live. I have a great practice. It's not perfect, but with great people. I have a lot of people that admire me and respect my job. So I feel very honored for that. But that also creates a lot of envy. That also creates a lot of I have to. I need to be up to that standard. I need to behave in a certain way. I need to do this. And I don't feel like I need to do any of that.
You don't need to do
I don't
anything.
need to do any of that. That's what I believe. What I need to do is that if that is the way that I want to give myself to the world, I just need to be giving more. That's it. That's at least that's the way that I see it. I think that you can have a balance there.
Yes,
but we were talking
you're
about
totally
finances.
right.
So what
No,
what does finance has to do with it? It has everything to do with it.
it has everything to do with it. Yeah.
It has everything to do with it because you need to be responsible.
You
Not
have
only
to
for
have
because
financial
consciousness is also,
stability.
and it's not only about you. It's for you, for your wife, or for your husband, for your family, for your team. So you need to be responsible. I mean, you should not feel obliged to work for that. But if you own a practice, you must realize for you to be conscious enough that net needs to bring you the comfort you need for yourself and for the others. If not, things have to change. You may eventually go to work in some other country, or you may eventually quit dentistry and do something else. But you need to have the courage to look at the financial situation in an unbiased way. Look at the numbers in the eyes, look at the math in the eyes, and decide for yourself exactly if these results are bringing you what you want to do. Okay, because money is not a status thing. Money is just a tool that you can use to do whatever you want. Either vacation, buy a car, buy a house, whatever it is. Give education to your kids, whatever that is. But that is a tool. And you cannot wishful think, and you cannot keep borrowing money until you die. I mean, you can do that eventually, but you need to look at the numbers in a very pragmatic way, because that's the only way that you can be financially less dependent on borrowed money and on the business. You need to be able to use money to reach your goals and not let money use you.
Let me just say two things before I want to make your last question, but let me just say two things. The first thing is, if you want to get the book of Jorge André, just I'm going to put a link on the show notes, and you leave your email, and we will send you the book. And the second thing is, we talk a lot about this. You talk a lot about this on our course, the conscience leadership course and dentistry, and that's why we call it conscience leadership, because we talk about the you give all the information, all the templates that you use, how you calculate
sheets, exactly.
Everything, how you calculate all the numbers, everything that you use on your practice. And we talked about the other part that this conversation also took us, so the awareness that you need to also to be a leader. So just go to softbites.online and you have all the information there. Do you want to say something?
One last insight is this and one of the books that I highly recommend on finances and the mindset of finance is Naval's Ravikant, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's an amazing book, and he's a bit pragmatic there. He says that before getting enlightened, get rich first. He says that Buddha was rich before he got enlightened, and that's a very raw sentence to say. I'm not saying that you should get rich. You should be an idiot getting rich and not giving a crap about anyone else. And then once you get financial stability, then you start thinking about consciousness. No, that's not what I think. What I think, what I think, it is very, money will not solve all of your issues by no means, but it will solve the basic issues. I mean, if you don't have comfort, food, shelter, and money to do some vacations, and a minimum comfort, it's very difficult to work on awareness and on
Mm-hmm.
consciousness because
Yeah.
you are dealing with survival, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think unless you want to go and live in a hut in Costa Rica or live like a monkey in India, which is more than reasonable, if you want to play this game of modern society, you have to learn to get your finances in order. Because only that, you don't have to be rich, but you need to get your independence. If you don't get your independence, it's very difficult to work on your body. It's very difficult to work on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
I think that's an
money,
important
if
thing
if you
to.
have your finances in order, you have the stability
Yes,
and the energy to go look for other things and to invest your creativity
yes,
in other
yes,
things. If you don't
exactly.
have your finances in order, that is always going to be in
Yes,
the back
yes,
of your mind. Even if you, like said, even if you, with the money that you make, are able to put food on the table and to have the to cover
yeah,
all the basics. But then if you are always worrying about money and always worrying that you have to borrow money, your energy is going to only be there. That's, you only will have energy to deal with that part.
yeah,
So if you have that part covered, and if you have stability, then you can redirect your energy to
yeah,
develop something else. So I think that in a dental practice, that's very important. And
yes.
I think that you can really feel the energy in a practice if the owners are struggling with
Stressed.
money, yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
with money issues, and if money is something that is their um
Yeah,
something that is always worrying them, and there's, so I think that the money awareness that you talked and the information that you just gave is really 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 important, and I think it really helpful. So
I think
once
this was a
again,
good episode.
hmm
I think it was a good episode. This one, a
let me
good
just
podcast.
finish, and this, I promise, this is the last thing. So
No,
you
I
wrote
will be
this book.
talking. I will be talking here about 1 hour more with you. You
Look,
know, but
you
we
wrote
have to
this
finish
book
because
in
otherwise people
2017.
got bored.
You wrote this
Yeah,
book in 2017, and you told
I
me, and
finished it in India. I finished the book in India. I was in
you
India at the time when I finished the
you
book.
you told me in the beginning, before we start recording, I sometimes I like to, or something like that. You said sometimes I like to read it to see how naive I was when I wrote it, and you just said that there's one thing that you would like to do, that is your goal to do in the future, that is to write a book.
Oh,
So
in dentistry.
what,
Yeah,
yeah,
in dentistry.
what is this book going to be about? The not so naive Andre
Uh,
now of nowadays.
no, I was looking. Um, I am a very creative. I'm not saying that I'm not. I am a very creative person. I'm not saying that I am a good creative, but I need to express myself. I need to express, and for me, creativity is setting a team, is doing a podcast, is writing articles, is giving lectures, because there's always something of you that you can give. And I wrote that book out of necessity because I wanted to get that thing out. Um, for example, one of the good things that's going to happen this year, and this is, I haven't shared this publicly, maybe in a post. I have a very, very important article about posteriority that was published in a very, very good magazine. It's a 3-part article um, that's going to come out this year, and it was the fruit of about a 3 to 4 year struggle of writing that thing. It's a very, very good thing. It's going to make me very, very happy. And I need that. I need those sorts of things in my life. I need to get these things out. And for me, writing, even from a scientific level, is very important. And I said it was naive because my English was not very good. It was a very basic English. It's still not very good, my English writing. I get a lot of criticism from reviewers, but they accepted it. But I would like to write a book about interdisciplinary dentistry. I would like to write a book uh, which doesn't exist yet, which is a book from A to Z that will teach you how to be a good, I'll teach you how to do good oral rehabilitation from an interdisciplinary way. And it's going to take a few years, but yes, that will happen. That will happen. Now,
Will it
what other
have
things would I like to?
will it
Yeah,
have a chapter on
of
emotions?
course it will have. Of course, management and emotions and stuff like that. Of course it will. Of
That's
course it
good.
will. And it's just, it was something that I really wish that I was exposed to emotional awareness and
Hmm.
consciousness much earlier on in my life. I really wish that. But it's better now because our ancestors, they didn't have that chance. They were just fighting in wars and killing each other, and
Hmm.
they would just find just find the intervals between violence to live their love, isn't it? Now we have the opportunity to express our own beings in a way that is much more comfortable. So it was a big evolution. So I think that we are always evolving as individuals because at the end of the day, we want people to be around us. We want people to experience happiness around us because that's the most important feeling. And I think that we must evolve and we must become better people to be able to allow that to happen. Of course, there's ego here. Of course, there's ego for writing a book. Of course, there's ego for making podcasts and giving courses. I like that. It's something that I like. But I think that at the end of the day, I want to believe that the best version of myself is doing that because he wants to positively influence people right now. It's not for me to be remembered, but I just want to be able to to reduce the suffering of people around me. That's it.
And to have a positive influence, and also to expose
Yeah,
others
and to
to
have
the things that you wish that you
and
have learned on the early phase of your
and
career. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and to have a good time meanwhile as well, if possible. Because at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. We have to enjoy the little things in life. We have to explore more of our monkey side that goes between trees and gets food and scratches each other and just plays around and have fun. That's it.
well, I had a good time. I had a great time. Thank you so much for this last hour. And thank you for the ones listening. I hope you had as much fun as we did. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and
Okay.
we'll see you
Bye,
on the next
everybody.
one. Bye bye.
See you on the
Bye
next one.
everyone.
Don't forget to get to our course
Yes,
in let's say,
softbites.online, where we
yeah,
give you all of this information that we talked about today, not only the part of the financial, but the part of the awareness also and the
yeah,
consciousness. So join us in
yeah.
beautiful Sagres in April. Bye bye, everyone.
Yes.
Bye, Andre.
Bye bye. See you next
Bye.
time.